Okay, now's the moment you've all been waiting for. I've sped this up by 2 times. It's 200% faster than it normally would be. If you want to watch the uncut, unedited version with all the wind noise, the swearing, the chains and the cinching and the uncut sections and bits and pieces, you can go to my Patreon page and check that out. It will be up sometime in the next day or so because it takes a little bit of time to do that. So, anyways, with that being said, I'm stuck. I'm really stuck. This thing, it doesn't look stuck. It looks kind of greasy or whatnot, but it is stuck. As you can see, those tires on that 8530 are just rounded over with mud, and there's no traction whatsoever. It's not even squishing out the sides. It's really greasy stuff. The baler is obviously a couple of inches deeper, and when I say a couple inches deeper, I'm talking 6 or 8 inches deeper. And what that does is it just locks the tires into place if you don't understand this, if you've never seen this happen before. The tractor that's hooked to me is the 7530, which is 208 horsepower on the dyno, and we broke the chain. That's it. Bada bing, bada boom. So you can understand the power that tractor has and how it breaks the chain. Just snapped it like nothing. So you're looking at not a ton of weight, but a shit ton of weight, which is, somewhere around 20 plus tons of weight on, between the 8530 and that Krone baler. And the chain that I used, it actually was a new chain. It wasn't old at all. And it just snapped it like it was a piece of toilet paper. So what I did was I doubled it up because I lost the hook. I couldn't just get a new hook. I just lost the hook. So I just kind of made a loop around there. Now it's doubled up. The chain that is on the 7530 is actually just a slight little bit heavier than what the one on the 8530 is. But that doesn't matter because this son of a bitch isn't going to move. So we tried 16 different ways from Sunday to get this stupid thing to move. We pulled straight on, and as you're about to see here pretty soon, we're going to pull in multiple different directions. So Timothy is on his way pretty soon here. I made the phone call. And here's, let me explain. He doesn't have the four-wheel drive in. I don't know why, whether he was resting his foot on the brake or whatnot, which disconnects the four-wheel. No, that doesn't disconnect. Yeah, on one side or the other. I don't remember. Anyway, he didn't have it in four-wheel drive, and of course, that made it even worse. So, on the phone now, calling Timothy. And what we're doing here is we're actually changing the angle of attack. Why am I pulling uphill? Well, because downhill is into the mud, obviously, and that didn't even move it. I was blown away as to how little impact that 200 horsepower 7530 had on this this rig that was stuck in the mud. I mean, we just kept changing the angle, moving it, and we're able to get the front of the 8530 to move, but by this time the holes in the rear tires had gotten to the point where they were so damn deep that it was just locking me into place. Plus the baler was ever so slowly, with every movement, rocking deeper and deeper into the mud. So what I did was I called Timothy and I told him to bring me the cable system that I have. When I was in high school, we had a bunch of trees and stuff that were down over an embankment, and I needed to pull them up. So we didn't have enough chain, and cable was the next best thing to use. So my Uncle Irv, I spoke about him in a video or two ago. He had worked in a paper mill down here. Actually, he didn't work at the paper mill. He worked at the Gilbert Generating Station up in Holland Township. He worked there for 36 years, but he had friends that worked in the paper mill. And the funny thing about the paper mill was it had its very own hardware store, and if he needed anything, he would tell his friends, and his friends would acquire these things like, half-inch cable. Actually, I think this is 5/8-inch cable. They had his 5/8-inch cable. And I was in high school when this happened, so it was many, many moons ago. It was in about 1990. I was hauling firewood and stuff, or selling firewood. That's how I made money at that point in my life. And I kept the cable. And I keep it in this plastic drum and dump oil on it so that it continues to be strong and good, especially when you're pulling very heavy pieces of equipment out of the mud. It comes in very handy, and I've used this thing several times. Like I honestly think that I would have had to go get every tractor that I owned to pull this thing out if I didn't have this cable. So what we did was we made a snatch block system, and what that does is you take two cables or two pulleys with one cable, and you tie it off to, say, a solid object, i.e. a tree, and it is across the road. So what we did was we had Timothy back the truck across the road so any traffic that was coming would be stopped while we were pulling. And if we weren't pulling, then obviously we just, cars would come, we'd move out of the way and then let them drive over the cable, which you'll see here pretty soon. And, boy, I got a lot of talking to do, but, we all know that I like to talk. So anyhow, what I had to do was string this cable properly, and sometimes you can forget as to what you're trying to accomplish, and with two cables, you can easily be like, you know what, I must be mentally retarded, and screwed it up, which I did. I did the first time, and I ended up changing it over so that you would see what's going to happen later on in the video. But I don't know, it wasn't working out the way I wanted it to. Dad wanted to get up on the road, and if you think that pulling on the road is more traction, you're wrong. It's not. Here comes a truck. So this is what we did. We waited for them to drive over the cable, which is a non-issue with cable or chain. It just doesn't matter. So Dad, he's over there, and pulling on the road just doesn't work. It just doesn't work. There's no traction there. You'll tear tires up, but you won't gain any more traction on the road. At least that's in my experience, because tar is oil, and oil is slippery, and oil, rubber, it just turns slippery, That's it. There's just not enough friction there, especially with tractor tires. So anyways, he gives it a little tug, and I don't know if you're going to see, yep, there goes the cable in the windrow, and it does 100% absolutely nothing. So we obviously stopped and changed our angle of attack. I had to sit and think about this for a little bit. Timothy comes running, and we did some readjusting with the cables, and decided that pulling downhill with the pulling tractor, or the 7530, was a better idea, and just changing the way the cable was set up. And we gave that a shot, as you can probably see here. We're just adjusting stuff. And adjusting stuff is what it's all about. As you can see here, I'm thinking, I don't know why I'm on my phone. It's kind of silly. But, yeah, it is kind of silly. But anyway, yeah, I guess I'm just talking to Dad and stuff, pulling cables up tight, and what I did was I changed the hitching point from the tractor to be pulled from the tractor to be pulled from the tree, or my anchor point. And of course, now instead of Dad pulling uphill towards the road, we're letting gravity work with us. And you need gravity. Gravity is very important when you're doing stupid stuff like this. You may not realize it, but go drive a tractor up a hill and then drive it down a hill, and you'll understand if you've never done that. So anyways, we get it all hooked up, and Teresa here is filming very diligently, and that's really nice of her. And it's kind of boring sitting here watching two tractors, one stuck in the mud and one trying to figure out which way to go. But that's just the way it is for right now. I'm walking over there. Why I'm walking, I have no idea, but I'm given some form of direction. I was very frustrated. I can honestly say that I didn't think that I was stuck as bad as I was, because if you've ever been stuck in the mud, the best thing to do is to just stop, make the phone call, get some help down there with another tractor, and pull. Because if you just keep working that thing back and forth, you're just digging the hole deeper. and it just makes it 10 times worse. And I know that I only went back and forth a few times, maybe maximum 4 times before I realized, hey, you know what, there's just no way I'm getting out of here, and I made the phone call. And me and Teresa sat in a cab and played Plants vs. Zombies, which is always a fun little game to do when you're stuck in the mud. Now she's thoroughly addicted to it. But anyway, she's probably downstairs listening to me, wondering what the hell I'm saying. But anyway, so we're going to give it a shot. Teresa is sitting in the truck, which is a safe place for her to be because things break. And that's exactly what happened. Cody showed up with the 7810. And yeah, see, actually, we didn't break anything yet, but we're about to. So anyways, Dad, he pulled and could not move that thing, even with the readjustment. So we decided that 2 tractors is better than 1 on that cable, and we'll see what happens. Well, we all know what's about to happen, and that is it's going to snap that cable. And I've thought it was kind of strange because the cable was very well taken care of, but there was just this one spot in the cable that was rusty on the inside, and it broke. And the funny thing is, when it broke, it shot that cable clear across the road and straightened it out into the woods. And I think this is where it broke. No? Actually, this is where... Oh, they rehitched it. I don't know why they rehitched it. Oh, I think I know why. Dad was in the hole, and he needed to get out of the hole, and I was just patiently waiting. And when you see Timothy go running, then you know that things are about to break. So they pulled together, and I didn't feel any movement up there. That was it. Snap. Gone. Yeah. And he's pulling the cable from underneath. There it is. It's broken. And, wow. Yeah, so there it is. Snapped it right out. Oh, what an aggravation. So what do? We get our cables together, and I had tools in the 8530, and we just fixed it with the clamp. That's a guy wire clamp. So if you ever get your hands on one of these guy wire clamps, holy hell, do they work good. And I mean, really, honestly, this is for telephone poles and things like that. But you get a hold of those, and they will hold on to everything. Those stupid little regular cable clamps, you got to put 4 or 5 of them on. They're like a U-shaped bolt, a U-bolt with a clamp on it. Forget those. Get these. They will slip tighter and tighter instead of just, breaking or whatnot. We didn't even slip it. So we got it fixed. Here we're working at it, and you make it as tight as you possibly can. And then from there, you just give it another go. And this whole process took, I don't know, it took probably an hour and a half, 2 hours to get this tractor out from start to finish. And, you'll see that it definitely was. My temper was getting a little bit of the best of me, I think. I was just starting to get a little pissed off because I really needed to get things done. We had 3 inches of rain after this, and it just got pretty ugly. But here we go. So we've moved Cody off the field. We've decided that 2 tractors is not going to be a good idea. And what I did do was I changed the angle of attack with the cable. So I moved my pulley system actually up the hill to slide the front end of the 8530 out of the holes.
Yes, yes, yes. Woo-hoo!
Never a dull moment around here, is it? Oh, 17, I can't wait for you to be gone. Teresa, next time you play in the mud, you gotta stay out of the mud. Just stay away from it. It's not worth it. It takes time and energy. I'm just warning you now. I know you're amateur and you just didn't know any better. So, just let this be a lesson learned.
don't go in the mud. Can you do that for me next time? Yes, I mean, no matter how much you want to get that little scrap of hay, sometimes it just isn't worth it.
I didn't tell you to go there.
No, you did it.
No, no.
I had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, right.
Nothing at all.
Yeah, right.
There you go.
Stay out of that bunghole.
That is a bunghole.
It needs TP.